Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on Oz Arab Media today. You can watch us on all our social media channels as well as our Oz Arab Radio. Today, before we start, let me just give a heartfelt shout out to all the victims of Morocco, all the strength and prayers. Today, we have an amazing inspiration, David Eid. Hello, David. Thanks for your time and effort today to be here with us. We really appreciate that. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you.
Thank you. Usually, I introduce our guests like every episode, but today I wanted you to do that in your own way. So let us know, who is David Eid?
Oh, what a pleasure. Who is David? That's a big question. I think for the majority of my life, I wanted to be someone who helps people. It's odd, it starts from a very young age, but if you're going to give it titles, I'm founder and CEO of Reknighted. I run a company that helps young men in schools to talk about deeper issues in life. And I'm also an arm wrestler. I
Interesting.
competitively arm wrestle people.
We got to watch out today, guys. Yeah. Okay.
On a world level, which is very, very interesting. Hopefully soon to be in the Olympics. And أنا لبناني.
أهلا وسهلا.
22 and خلت بلبنان بطرابلس. Don't know
Nice.
where in Trablus.
It's
Okay,
all right.
yeah.
That would do.
And yeah, I'm raised in Australia and in the Bankstown region, and now we are in Piermont.
Nice. To have all these qualities and skills, and you're just 22, hats off, to be honest. So you mentioned you are the founder of Reunited. What is Reunited, and what does it do?
Reunited it's a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of hope to the people to the young men who feel isolated. They feel like they don't have a voice, and maybe they feel like they have so much potential to give, but they don't know how. And the reason why it's a symbol of hope in that way is because I was like that, growing for the majority of my life. Growing up in schools, I probably moved 6 schools in primary
Wow.
alone, and it was hard for me to connect to people. I felt I lost hope in wanting to connect because every time I made a best friend, I would lose that best friend because I didn't really understand how to keep friends, and we didn't have
And moving as well would, yeah,
as well.
democrats, yeah, yeah.
Precisely, and I got rejected by girls like 6 times growing up as well, so
They're lost,
that added to
to be honest. Yes.
yeah. And because of that, honestly, I can feel for them. And there's a lot of young men who are in that position, and I want to be leading by example first to be able to show them there's a way.
Nice. And on grounds, it's a non-for-profit organization.
It's an
Does it have a team?
it's an organization with a team, and we we facilitate workshops in school.
Oh, interesting. How do you run these workshops in school? Like, did you have kind of a curriculum, something you rely on, standards? How does it go?
That's a question I love. I think the biggest reason why the boys can connect with us is because we are so different to the average school day.
Okay.
We immerse them in a whole day workshop, and the first initiative for us to have in that day is to get to know them. Eye to eye, we have fun, we kick the footy ball around, we do everything we can to connect with the boys. Because we're ultimately trying to help them. We can't help them if we're not the boys as well. We need to be the boys to help the
100%.
boys.
Yeah.
And
And
we're
something in common. You want to find the common grounds.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It starts with curiosity. What's your favorite thing? What do you like to do? Or did you know he liked to do that as well? There's no way you guys are in the same class, so you didn't know that you both like the same
Oh,
thing.
wow.
So it's all of this stuff. It's really connecting together, threading as many connections as possible within them,
Yeah.
as well as understanding them and them understanding us. We tell our stories, we go as deep as possible. It's so authentic that it's weird that we're this authentic and we're randomly sharing this. And after all of that, we play, then we get into real talk. We teach them how to go a little bit deeper. A young man speaking into their life, talking about how he struggles with maybe his relationship, and recently he went through a little bit of an argument, and he's talking to young men, and the young men hearing that, they go, oh wow, so it's fine for me to talk about my stuff as well, and I'm not going to get laughed at, I'm not going to get
Bullied.
disrupted, I'm not going to
Yeah.
get bullied. Oh, that's interesting. So I can feel safe. I can actually talk about my issues. Okay, I don't have to bottle it in. And it's that process which honestly it just allows them to open. It allows them to
Yeah.
express and actually become their best version of themselves. And it's not just a word that people say, and it's this amorphous issue. No, it's actually a reality. Once they can express themselves to the people they love and the people they can trust, then they can start to bring out the best parts of themselves.
Very interesting. And how hard was it to tackle into these things? Because, being a Lebanese, so coming from a Middle Eastern background, it is not easy to say, hey, it's not easy to cry.
Oh, yeah.
I can't cry. I'm the man and all that. So do you see that in other nationalities in Australia schools?
Yeah.
How is it easy or hard to tackle that point?
100%. The Shabab, the hardest people to reach to, honestly, especially in the West, because in the northern suburbs and in the eastern suburbs, it's a little bit easier because there's more awareness around mental health.
Okay.
In the West, because their parents are very, very traditional, it can get extremely difficult. And yeah, I came from a Lebanese background, and in the first few years of my life, and what is crying? I didn't even see my
عيب ما
dad
فيك
cry.
تبكي انت شاب, they go like that. Yeah.
Until 1 week ago, my dad and I didn't have an actual genuine conversation and talk about our feelings.
Wow.
About how he felt about me, about life, about how he's going through now, until a week ago. And I'm someone who's leading this and it's just so much resistance from the culture, from the community in the past, preventing this.
He's the dad, he's the man of the house. He can't be, very sensitive or emotional.
Exactly. And honestly, rightfully so. And there are times where it's important to become stoic.
Yeah.
The issue comes when that's all that a man is. And it's because of that I really want to be able to open that discussion. And we have faced many challenges. We face many challenges in the Western schools. We face challenges everywhere. Because boys are the biggest, excuse my language, shit testers.
Okay.
And if you're going to come in and say, okay, we're going to talk about our emotions, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you to come in and speak into my life? Like, please explain who you are so I can actually start to listen to you. And if we're not going to lead by example, if we're not going to be someone who can actually invite them into this conversation, who are we? So we need to lead by example. We need to show them that we're the people, and through our lived example, we have to first be authentic with them, show them our story. Who are we in school? Who are we now? And eventually through time, if we are true to ourselves, if the energy that we provide is one that is real, they will follow.
If you don't mind me asking, after you talk to these boys and you open up and they feel relaxed and comfortable talking to you, where do you take this conversation next? What can Reknighted do after that? Professional point of view, or, how can you take it to a good end or a result end?
Of course. Ultimately, what the main point is to achieve is it's social connection. It's social and emotional well-being, in essence. And to achieve that, first of all, there has to be a safe space. We need to create a safe space, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do. How can we best allow these boys to be safe? The second the room becomes unsafe, like someone bullies someone, or someone makes a joke when clearly there's a check-in going on and they're talking about their family and maybe someone
Put
passed
downs
away,
and stuff like that, yeah.
instantly I can feel the energy change, and that becomes an issue. And if we can teach the boys to have that safe space, when we leave, they're that safe space for each other. We're not to be heroes. We're not coming to change their lives and just leave.
And you can't be the psychologists, really, can you? Like, can
Precisely.
you give the end result of the certain scenario?
We're there for one day. What we can do is facilitate the space required for them to carry on the torch. We can empower them. We can provide them with the tools to continue this on their own. And we do this with the teachers. We do it with the parents. We equip and educate. The empowerment comes with them acting on it. And the best way to do that is to facilitate that environment, create that environment to make it easy for them to do it for themselves. That's ultimately what the point of the workshop is.
Interesting. And, being in Australia, having multicultural families and different backgrounds and different beliefs and maybe different political and religious backgrounds as well. And having many circumstances, family circumstances. If you were able to tackle or uncover a certain issue for these these little ones, things like, I don't know, you felt they're unsafe at a certain point. Can you do something are you able to do something to just make sure that this teenager is safe?
Yeah, we have a thing called confidentiality,
Yeah.
and the only point through which that confidentiality can be not breached but rather maneuvered around is if there is a lack of safety
Okay.
in their personal lives. When we offer a check-in, which is at the crux of that workshop, the whole point of the workshop is to have that safe space for a check-in. A check-in is when someone can talk about what's going on for them, and on a deep level, without anyone talking anything about it, just expression. And if someone expresses that, if a boy expresses that the dad is abusing them, and worst case scenario, something's happening, sexual abuse or whatever
Yes.
can happen, we bring that up with the teacher, with the counselor, and with someone who can actually involve themselves into it after we leave.
So you're basically just brokers. You were able
Precisely.
to pass the message. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay. But does that require certain skills or eligibility for adults like yourself to be part of the team, to be able to speak to these teenagers, or anyone can do it?
There needs to be, at the very least, a working with children's check.
Yes.
At the very least, because understanding that a child is developing so rapidly and is so easily molded at that age is, first of all, very important. And not having any records that
Yeah,
can go
yeah,
against that
of
is
course.
important as well. And on the side, there has to be some level of youth work, mental health, first aid,
Yeah.
some psychology involved. Because if a man can't understand themselves in order to speak to another boy's life, who are you? What are you really doing there?
Yeah.
And honestly, beyond certificates, it's really just lived experience. It's what have you done in your life? Our biggest hiring question is who are you?
So share experiences rather than influencing them.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's speaking with, not speaking at.
Okay, interesting. Will you have a female branch soon? Are you thinking of that?
There's been a lot of talk about it, and I
Yeah.
think eventually, when the time comes, it's more than necessary. And for me to say that only boys struggle with this, even though the suicide rate is higher for young men,
Okay.
it would be naive of me to say that women don't experience the same level, if not more, just in a different way.
100%.
And because when one party gets involved, the other party gets eventually involved. And I think eventually, yes, that the discussion will turn into reality.
Interesting. Hopefully, we hope to find you all over with all genders. How do we reach out to you? How can we talk to you as Reknighted? How can we ask you to come to our schools, or if you have personal workshops, individuals rather than groups?
Reknighted works in schools solely now, and we do that through, and the best way to reach us is through our website.
Yeah.
Our website is a contact form there, and I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me, and I can transfer you to one of our team, one of our relationship managers.
But schools only.
Ultimately, right now, it's just schools. And the reason why we focus on schools is because, as a preventative organization, that is the best place to be.
Okay.
And we would rather, although the skill is universal in creating a safe space, would rather focus in doing that in schools because we can become the best at what we do in schools instead of diluting our skill set. And if we can do that and focus on that, our job is done. Eventually, we will expand. Eventually, we'll turn it into group coaching and do it into maybe corporate events or etc. But now it's schools.
Schools.
Yeah.
And anyone can reach out to you?
Anyone can reach out if you're a concerned parent, if you're a teacher, if you're a principal, or even if you're a government organization who wants to fund this, reach out to us because ultimately that's what we want to do.
Interesting. I was going to ask next, because you're a non-for-profit organization, how do you fund yourselves? How do you keep on going?
In the beginning, I was a sole donor. I'll be honest.
Okay.
It was very much so a passion project in the beginning. Now it's one of two ways. It's through the schools that bring us in, and they pay for the workshop, and the other way is through funded by council, by government, by clubs as well, who want to support the mission and really reach out to as many boys as possible.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm sure we can keep on talking for hours, especially about teenagers and teenagers, and what they can pass through and struggle. Let me ask, why Reknighted? Why is this? What does the word itself mean, and how is it related to what you do?
Reunited, I'm gonna have to be completely frank with you.
Okay.
It was just a cool name.
A cool name because I'm looking at it. It's the night,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
K, and it's the night.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
always
very
liked.
manly or boyish, isn't it?
I always liked night movies. When I grew
Okay.
up, it's a bit of a personal one. I grew
Yeah, fair
up,
enough.
whenever I watched a movie like adventurous and
Yeah.
there was nights in it, I felt great, you know?
Oh, that's great.
And look, ultimately it did, it turned into something beautiful. There's a play on words, reunited, we're reunited, we're together. But as well, there's something beautiful about the code of honor that knights live by. It's a purpose they live to. It's something they look to in their hardest times. This is their code of honor. They trust in integrity, they trust in courage, they trust in honor. And if that is all they trust in those core values, no matter how hard life can get, at least they can continue to be that person they identify with.
Nice.
And if that isn't a helpful identification, they're going to be cool.
Cool.
The people they love, the people their kids, their families.
I wanted to ask, how do you guys feel after this workshop or these couple of hours sitting with these boys and feeling you did something useful?
It's ecstatic. Honestly, I feel like an old wise man after
Aw.
this workshop. I am only 22, I'm aware of my age, and
Yeah.
etc. And honestly, after finishing these workshops, it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. And to feel like I've impacted these young men's lives in an incredible way, and for them to continue that impact with each other, and to be really helpful role models in society
Yeah.
beyond that point, and obviously continuing to do that, is the biggest joy for me.
Nice.
And in that way, I'm very selfish in that I am very fulfilled, and this is something I love.
Oh, that's amazing to feel. But because you said you're just 22 years of age and doing these, have you ever experienced an impressment? Like, oh my God, I didn't know boys this age think this way. Or have they taught you something while you thought you're coming in to teach them something?
Yeah, yeah,
Did
yeah.
that happen to you?
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm always learning as I teach, but really
Yeah.
what it is I'm just facilitating an environment. I am 22, and I know I'm technically wiser than what other 22-year-olds is, depending on how you define it.
Of course.
And I think I give a lot of the credit to my dad.
Yeah.
I have an incredible role model. My father, shout out to David Eid.
Oh, of course. A big shout out. He's one proud daddy, I'm sure, at the moment.
You know, I attribute a lot of my character development towards him.
Yeah.
He's a man of his word, and he'd go broke before he breaks his word, and he does it always to help people. And to see him grow to be in acts of service, to always be cutting grass for widows every weekend, no matter what's going on, no matter how much money he's losing, no matter how much pain he goes through. And he always had disc pains, back pain,
Yeah.
blood pressure, cholesterol, has diabetes as well. But to always do that consistently every week, no matter what, and beyond, that to me is an example that for me not to follow is foolish. And because of that, I attribute almost a lot of it to my dad.
Oh, God bless your family. I'm sure you had a role model that most of the boys that get across with don't have that role model, and maybe they need people like you and your organization. So definitely a big shout out to Dad. And I wanted to ask lastly, how did that improve your relationship with your family? How did Reunited do that?
In a very weird way, yes, it did incredibly. Um, not to say anything negative about my dad, but we did grow up in a culture where it was very difficult to connect. To actually look at my father and to say he's my friend was never a reality. Until I started to realize through this process that everyone is human. Everyone has emotions, and putting up a stone wall because someone told you that men can't cry.
Or you don't know the other part of the story or what's the background behind it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Whether and saying the word should, I don't like the word should. People should be a certain way. It's like no. Everyone's there living through their own circumstance. And the second I realized that everyone is their own person. They're just reacting to a circumstance. And how they react ultimately becomes who they are, and everyone's different. Allowed me to realize that my dad's also doing that as well, and he has certain experiences in life that caused him to look at life a certain way, and that made me have an incredible amount of compassion towards him. Understand exactly who he is on a deeper level has been the greatest thing because it opened the discussions that has
Wow.
allowed me to really connect with him and to see why he does what he does. And I think that's honestly, if it wasn't for, if there was only one thing I could gain out of this whole process of starting Reunited and becoming the founder and getting all the praise and all these things, there was one pro that I could get out of doing all of this. It's that conversation I can have with my dad
Nice.
beyond all of it.
To be honest, and that's maturity, in my opinion, on its own. Um, Please keep on doing what you're doing. That you are an amazing inspiration, and we're so proud to have people like you and young men like you in our community, helping the community as well. Please reach out to David and on their social media platforms and their website. They're there to help our community, our schools, our boys into a better future, and you can see what they can come into. Thank you for this lovely, valuable, conversation today, and your time today as well. I am so sure that you're gonna have a lot of calls and a lot of friends after this. Thank you for today, David.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
No worries. So David Eid on Oz Arab Media today, and hopefully to see you next time. Thank you.